Welcome to this week's edition of World Crisis Radio. This is Webster Tarpley speaking to you from Washington, D.C. In the middle of January, after the fall of Ben Ali, provoked by the WikiLeaks document dump, all part of a CIA limited hangout operation, I put an essay up on tarpley.net, which I urge you to look at, talking about the immediate perspective of a tsunami of destabilizations, putsches, coups d'etats, and other activities by the Anglo-American intelligence community. The tsunami, which has now come true. Starting today's program, let's remember that in classical drama, the relation of natural events, be it the weather, earthquakes, tidal waves, and political events, is a metaphorical combination that we find quite frequently. We need look no further than Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare to get an idea of how this works. Take Act 1, Scene 3 of Julius Caesar. A street in Rome, a public place, thunder and lightning. Enter from opposite sides Casca with his sword drawn, and Cicero. Cicero says to Casca, "Good even, what brought you, Caesar, home? Are you breathless? Why stare you so?" Casca, "Are you not moved when all the sway of earth shakes like a thing unfirm? O Cicero, I have seen tempests where the scolding wind have rived the knotty oaks, and I have seen the ambitious ocean swell and rage and foam to be exalted with the threatening clouds. But never till tonight, never till now, did I go through a tempest dropping fire. Either there is a civil strife in heaven, or else the world, too saucy with the gods, incenses them to send destruction." And Cicero replies, "What? Saw you something more wonderful?" Casca then, "A common slave, you know him well by sight, held up his left hand, which did flame and burn like 20 torches joined, and yet his hand, not sensible of fire, remained unscorched. Besides, I have not since put up my sword. Against the Capitol I met a lion who glared at me and went surly by without annoying me. And there were drawn upon a heap of 100 ghastly women, transformed with their fear, who swore they saw men all in fire walk up and down in the streets. And yesterday the bird of night did sit even at noonday upon the marketplace, hooting and shrieking. When these prodigies do so conjointly meet, let not men say, these are their reasons, they are natural. For I believe they are portentous things unto the climate that they paint upon." And Cicero, it is a strange disposed time, but men may construe things after their fashion, clean from the purpose of the things themselves. Comes Caesar to the Capitol tomorrow? Casca, he doth. For he did bid Antonius send word to you, he would be there tomorrow. And finally Cicero, "Good night then, Casca. This disturbed sky is not fit to walk in." Well, a metaphor for the tsunami of coups, destabilizations, putsches, civil wars, and other attacks going on across the world. The events of the past week, and digging a little bit deeper into the phenomena of the last 2 or 3 months, point overwhelmingly to a worldwide attack upon the nation-state by the Anglo-American Empire. It is a worldwide spoiling assault on the nation-state by this Anglo-American supranational structure featuring the International Monetary Fund, NATO, and of course the United Nations in the person of Ban Ki-moon being simply a tool of this entire thing. And the goal is to maintain the empire, the Anglo-American one. It's not a global one, it's the Anglo-American one. And the idea that others have an equal seat at the table, I think, are much diluted. It is an Anglo-American financier empire centered on Wall Street and the City of London. And the goal of this is to destabilize all the countries that are seeking to exit the empire. In the Persian Empire, they didn't have viceroys. They had satraps, right? In the Spanish Empire, you could be the viceroy of New Granada or the viceroy of Mexico. In the British Empire, you could be the viceroy of India. In the case of the Persian Empire, a similar post was the satrap. You were the boss of a large subdivision of the empire. You were almost a satellite, but not quite. Today, what we see is the beginnings of a jailbreak by the satraps, a rebellion by groups of satraps seeking to get out from under the Anglo-American yoke. And the only answer coming from London and Washington is, first of all, the irregular forces of Assange, the WikiLeaks, and their destabilization activities. The news this morning, an attack on Indonesia. The latest WikiLeaks document dump accuses the president of Indonesia of bribery and corruption. How long before Langley and MI6 pull out the stops and try to get a color revolution going in Indonesia? The goal of all this is to prevent the current alignment from being replaced by something more rational. And in the process, London and Washington are perfectly happy to have chaos and civil war. And again, the idea is the empire arching far above the IMF, NATO, the UN, and similar institutions, the destruction of the nation state in the middle, and then a crazy quilt of warlords, tiny principalities, subdivisions. We're seeing Libya divided into two parts, Sudan divided into two parts, Yemen divided into two parts, Iraq divided into three parts, Iran a candidate for division into 5 or 6 parts, Pakistan 4 to 5 parts, and so on. China ultimately 25 parts. That would be the warlord era of the 1920s, the partition of the Russian Federation. All of these things are included in the goal of this current assault wave. Just to refresh the analysis we've given in the previous weeks, shortly to be posted on Tarpley.net, who is playing the Iran card among the current U.S.-British satraps? Who has been playing the Iran card? Well, Mubarak of Egypt, opening up direct air links between Cairo and Tehran, refusing to join the U.S.-sponsored Sunni Arab front against the Syrians and the Iranians and Hezbollah and the rejection front people in the Middle East. Lebanon, coming under a government decisively influenced by Hezbollah. Turkey, gravitating enough towards Iran to try to mediate the Iranian nuclear dispute. Bahrain, the royal family, the Al Khalifa family, forbidding the U.S. to use that Fifth Fleet base in Bahrain for purposes of attacking Iran. And, of course, Iraq, Maliki, the pro-Iranian who still remains in power despite the U.S. military occupation of the country. The news this week is that a coup plot, including murder plot, against Maliki has apparently been preempted. So that's the Iran card. The China card. Who's playing the China card? Pakistan, above all, playing the China card. Gaddafi playing the China card, the Russia card, the India card, and the Brazil card to get out from under the domination of the U.S., Britain, and the other NATO states. President Karzai of Afghanistan, 3 to 4 trips to Beijing, a whole series of economic development deals, a severe warning to Karzai this week. A NATO Special Forces raid has killed Karzai's cousin, one of his relatives, one of the people in his clan. And these nighttime Nacht und Nebel raids by NATO, of course, are a terrific bone of contention, as are the Predator drone attacks in northwest Pakistan. We'll get to the Russian card in just a minute, but you get the idea. Mass defections from the empire, the only answer, the overthrow of all competing governments by the U.S. and the British. Back in a minute.